of People Tech. I'm the president of People Tech. It's a leadership development and executive coaching company. And I believe the most important skill that we can have in the workplace is our business relationship skills. And I believe that all starts inside us first. It starts within us, and we have to discover the map of who we are and how we come across, and then what do we want to create? What do we want to live? What do we want to do? And Lisa, thank you for the introduction. I so much appreciate it because we've known each other now for a lot of years. I used to speak at the ITSM. My background is in technology. Actually, my first career, I started with Electronic Data Systems, Ross Perot's company back way back. And I worked there for several years and then went to American Express where I ran production control, computer operations, help desk, voice data, LAN support. Supported a lot of people at the company, and very blessed to have gotten some feedback that, Mike, you're a visionary, you're motivating, you're inspiring, you're good with relationships, but you're wishy-washy. You don't hold people accountable to anything. And that kind of punched me hard. I didn't know what to do with that. So I found someone that helped look at behavior and showed me where my strengths were actually creating those perceptions. And I began to love her thing so much that I brought her in to change our technology organization and made it one of the best value survey results that they'd ever had. And I was asked to move to Phoenix. I did. I lived out there for 10 years. And on the side, I started People Tech. And the goal was going to be working with people in technologies, which I do very much. However, a buddy of mine said, make it a TEK because you're going to work with all kinds of companies. And so thank goodness we did. It's a people with a TEK on the end. And we've been doing that now for close to 30 years. I think I've been running People Tech, and we have great coaches. And thankfully, we were introduced to Lisa and her team, and it was just a blast going through the journey. So today I'm going to go through something that came a few years ago, and I'll be open to answering any questions and talking about it. And it's a book that I wrote, and I'll just share my screen. Let me make sure it comes up. Can everybody see the
Yes, sir.
PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is exciting because I'm with my family, the tech world, talking about Howard Stern. So how did I get to Howard Stern? Okay. I wanted to take the concepts that I was teaching and that we have been teaching for a long time, because I noticed a pattern that existed with a lot of people that I was working with, that everyone was good at doing a job or a task. They got promoted into leadership positions, but no one ever gave them any kind of a process to convert from a doer to a leader. So I hired a person who worked with me. She was actually a tech person on the development side, and her and I created a process called the Journey, and we labeled it the leadership journey. At that time, it was 20 sessions long. It was 2 hours every week for 20 sessions, because I believe that leadership is a process, not an event, meaning you have to build muscles that get built over time. You don't just go to a gym once. And these muscles that we're building are very complicated. How do you set a business plan in motion? How do you deal with conflict, communication, handling difficulty? I mean, it goes on, and every situation is a little different, but you got to build those muscles, and you got to use the tools over and over and over again. So any event doesn't work. You have to add it and be a continual learner. So I wanted to take all the things that we did in the leadership journey and put thousands of people in, a lot of tech people, both engineers on both sides of the world, the operations side and the development side, and created this program called the Journey. And I wanted to make the journey available to people that may not get to us through corporate. We have a lot of corporate clients. And I said, what can I do to do that? I always liked Howard in terms of listening to him. I don't want to get into the details of the good, the bad, the ugly. Everybody's got that. But at the end of the day, I've had friends say, Mike, I love you. I love the journey, but I'm never, ever going to read that book. Okay. And I said, okay. So anyway, so I created the story, The Leadership Lessons of Howard Stern. It took me about 4 years to take what is called the compass, and you're going to get a look at the compass and what it is, and take that and put it into a story around his behavior and how he leads to the behavior of the journey. And the reason I used him, number one, obviously he's controversial and some people think he's not a leader. Well, that's my other point. Everyone on the planet, I don't care who you are, I don't care what level you are, I don't care what you do, I don't care what position you're in, you're a leader. And people will argue with me until their head falls off. But I prove that once they identify their magic dust and once they link it to their vision, mission, goals, they're living leadership. And even if they don't do that, they're living leadership every day anyway. The key is, how do we do it on purpose and not by mistake? So the issue is, we're already leaders, everyone on this call. So without further ado, I'm going to go here to the first slide. And I want to show a picture of this is in the book as well. And it's a picture of my father, Big Al. Before he passed a few years ago, but before he passed, we were celebrating Father's Day. We had my son there, my father's aide, my mom, my stepmom, and my nephew and I having celebrating a Father's Day together. And at his 90th birthday party, I did a speech, and right before that 90th, I had asked my father, how does he remain so positive? My father lost an arm and a leg and became paralyzed from C3 down. So he was really considered a quadriplegic. And as a quadriplegic, he had access to nothing, really. His aide, Gene there, uh, phenomenal person who's still in our life. And Gene and my dad's wife, Phyllis, took care of my father day in and day out, and I'll talk about them in a minute. But my father said, I made a decision. I said, what do you mean you made a decision? You're happy to everybody, you make everybody pleasant? He goes, yes, I made a decision. I go, what do you mean you made a decision? Is that a spiritual thing? He goes, no, I decide in my mind that I never want anything to upset not only me, but any other person that I meet. And I'll always remain pleasant. And I took that. I didn't know what he meant for a while. I was like, okay. And then, you get into different things and, oh, you're deciding to show up in a certain way. That's how you decide. And it's instantaneous. We have to pull ourselves out of it all the time. My father made this decision, and it helped me tremendously. And I speak about it all the time, and I put it in the book because you all made a decision to be here today. You all made a decision that you want to do something with this information for whatever reason. And I'm so grateful that you are here, because I want you to be able to take away something that we talk about today, even if it's my father's lesson, and implement it for yourself. Everyone on the phone here is leaders, and you're all having impact now. And I just wanted to transform the planet. So with that, we're going to talk about the leadership compass. Lisa's team did go through the leadership journey, and the leadership journey didn't have the compass at the time. It had all the elements, but the compass didn't exist. But now we have a compass that has 36 behaviors behind each one of these different areas. And if you look at True North, that's continual learning. Remember, I said that leadership is a process, not an event. That all of us have to go to the gym, the leadership gym. And I'll give you copies of all these slides, and I'll give you a copy. There's a copy of the compass. Actually, Lisa, we should have sent that out ahead of time. But we'll get that out. The compass that you can actually score yourself. It's free. It's out on my website, peopletechcoaching.com. And you could take and actually score where you think you're at in all these areas. And there's 12 areas of the compass, and the first one starts with awareness. And in the leadership journey, we do a tremendous deep dive into what does awareness mean, what works, what doesn't work, how do you show up, and you guys have all probably done different instruments like the DISC or Myers-Briggs. However, we connect all of them together. I encourage everyone on this call, there's free ones out there. Go do Enneagram, go do an emotional intelligence one, go do, there's so many out there. Do every one that you could ever think of, and start to look at, what is this saying to me? What is this doing for me? What am I doing? What's my awareness around myself? How am I showing up? How do I make a decision to show up like my dad did? He's pleasant all the time. It's like amazing. He's totally happy, and considering he could never get out of his wheelchair without somebody transferring him from that chair to the bed. It was like a miracle thing, and it's really helped me and a lot of people. So Howard Stern, the reason I used him is because we don't necessarily think of him as a leader, but I want to talk about awareness. Howard demonstrates awareness every single second on his show. He openly shares with the community of whoever's listening almost anything that comes into his mind. Some of it you may not want to hear at the end of the day, but a lot of it is his self improvement. What has he done? He's gone to counseling, he's had coaches, he does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of transcendental meditation. I didn't know that until I was listening to a show one day, actually after I wrote the book, and found that he does transcendental meditation. By the way, if anybody doesn't meditate, I highly recommend meditation. It's probably one of the best practices that I've ever implemented in my life. And I highly recommend everybody try it, even if it's guided meditation, which is fabulous as well. So the compass starts with awareness, and that deep dive into awareness, that never ends. What's going on with you? Magic dust is the skill, ability, and talent that you have and every single person on the planet has. Everyone's might be different than yours, and that's the beautiful blessing of the planet. Every single person has this magic dust, and it's the special skill, ability, and talent that we have. We're not better than anyone as a human being. We might be better at a task. They're better at other tasks than us. Lisa can tell you she's way better than me in so many things. I'm so happy for that, by the way. And the next part of the compass is the vision, mission, goals. V, comma M, comma G, comma M equals B. I'm pretty passionate about this formula. It's vision, mission, goals, and measures. And the most important part of the formula is equal behavior. How do we want to show up based on what we say? Everybody can have a vision, mission, goals, and everybody should write it. The weird thing is most people don't have one. I coach a lot of folks, and our team coaches a lot of folks. You ask them, what are you trying to achieve? I don't have anything written down. I don't have a plan. I don't. So everyone needs a personal vision, mission, goals. It really is best when it links to their magic dust, because where your vision, mission, goals links to your magic dust is true passion, true creativity, true joy in the workplace. No one has that more than Howard Stern. I'll be open with you. He loves what he does. He eats, sleeps, and drinks it. I've never met him. Let me start by saying that. I did not get permission to release the book with his name and his picture on it. I've got people mad at me about that. But at the end of the day, I did that for a personal reason about myself. My awareness is I always want everybody to like me. That's one of my problems, that I overuse. Like, oh, that's why I was wishy-washy. Well, that's over because I was able to not only release this, I've changed my behavior in terms of many things, how I lead the team and other things, because it's not helping anybody if I'm not direct with what I need or anything like that. And if I'm doing it for a motivation to get someone to like me or whatever, that's a poor motivation for leadership behavior. So anyway, by releasing the book, I was saying to the world and saying to myself, I don't care what anybody says. I really don't care what they think. Don't take it personally. And it took me a lot to do it. I had coaches because, oh, are you going to get sued? Oh my God, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. I still don't know. He may be listening to the call here. Anyway, we have communication. Everything links to your vision, mission, goals. All the rest of this compass link to the clarity of your vision, your mission, your goals and measures, and what behaviors and values are you going to live by. Everything. There's nothing you need to be doing, because that's how you prioritize the rest of your career, the rest of your life, the rest of your role. All of you guys have great tech roles, I assume, and every single one of you has an impact. Whether you have the vision, mission, goals, and measures and behaviors listed down or not, you're still having an impact. Why? Because you're living based on your behavior. So the issue is, what do you want it to be? What do you want to create? And if you take anything away from this today, please take away, I'm going to create my vision, mission, goals, and I'm going to find out what my magic dust is. Those two things would be phenomenal. So I wanted to get out, why is Howard going to help make us better? Why? Because Howard lives it on a day-to-day basis. Is he perfect? No. I could have taken any person on the planet and wrote the leadership lessons of. I was going to write the leadership lessons of Oprah Winfrey. I was going to write the leadership lessons of Donald Trump. I was going to write the leadership lessons of Barack Obama. I was going to do many of them, and there might be others coming in a series, but they'll all be the same message. How do you set your vision, mission, goals up, and what's your magic dust? The big thing about magic dust is to understand what happens when we overuse it. And I'll go back to this. When I overuse my magic dust, then I get wishy-washy and don't hold people accountable, and I end up not doing the behavior that I really need to do. Every person I've ever met on the planet has magic dust, and when they overuse it, it gets in their way.
Mike,
The
I'm going to interject just to say
sure.
that that was the biggest lesson that I took out of the whole journey as a manager was, like back in the day, you'd interview people, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? I never liked those questions anyway, because they, the bias, whatever. And so when I would interview, when I interview people, instead of what are your strengths, I always use, when we check your references, we're going to ask them to use 3 words or phrases to describe you. Tell me what they're going to say about you, because,
I love that.
put it that way. And I'm proud of that one. I made that one up. But the magic dust, so the weakness, what I really learned, and we've been through this mental exercise with the team, with Mike and his team. People don't have weaknesses. People overuse their strengths. So my example, and they're every time, every person, including yourself, if you think about that. So my magic dust is that I get people excited to follow me, but when I overuse that strength, I can come across as overbearing or arrogant.
Yeah.
And to me, y'all, that was such a mind blower. And when I think about it, I could apply it to every one of you guys that I know well enough. Sean McLean, I think I have a good idea of you, brother. So to me, that's just such a new, interesting way to look at things. So anyway, I just really wanted to
Lisa,
interject that.
thank you for that. My goal to be on the planet is that every person has an opportunity to identify their magic dust and also live their vision, mission, goals, and measures, and know what happens when they overuse their magic dust. That's my passion until I leave here. That's what I'm going to be working on. Why? Because I feel at that point it sets people free. It also points out that no one's better than anyone else because we all have magic dust. I had an 80-year-old person. I don't know, Lisa, if you know, well, you know Nova Southeastern, but Dr. Abe Fischler went through the program when he was 80 years old. And he goes, Mike, I wished I would have known this, many years before. Unfortunately, he's deceased now. He used everything and for many years, but he goes, I would have made so many different choices in how I showed up if I had known what my strengths are, what my magic dust is, and how I overused it. And because when you're overusing yours, someone else isn't getting a chance to use theirs. And that's the big thing. If someone else isn't getting a chance to use theirs, they get upset. Why am I here? All kinds of ripple effects start to happen. And when you're not in the right role and such, where your magic dust links to your vision, mission, goals, you're doing no one any really benefit. Okay, to tell you the truth, because you need them to help you. There's no way you can do all the roles, particularly of a CEO. And that's why Lisa surrounds herself. She has a great team, and different people do different things because they have different magic dust. Okay, and you can't if you're to do every single thing, and that was the other philosophy that was always out there. Let's get great at everything. You'll get better at some of them. You'll build good habits, but there's no way you're going to get great at everything. Okay, so you have to use and encourage to work with and partner with and collaborate with people that have magic dust different than yours. So we want to understand this compass. Like I said, I'll get you, it is on my website, but I'll get it to Lisa. Lisa could get it all out to all of you. It actually is where you can measure yourself in the different areas. And then we want to discuss some situations and how to apply new actions based on the compass. We'll talk about it. And then implement one thing that you heard today. I base everything on the Johari window. Joseph Luft and Harry Ingram, they created this way in which people look at themselves. It's kind of a psychological tool, but up at the top, we have self-knowledge, and on the side, we have others' knowledge. And where those linkages come into place are windows that Joseph Luft and Harry Ingram created. So if you look at the box to the left, known to self and known to others, we call that our open self. And in our open self, effective leaders are able to be open, authentic, and be who they are and not be afraid of it. The more you open your open self, the better it is, the more increased trust that occurs. And if you look at the bottom of the chart, this is not part of the model, but I like to look at everything based on a level of trust. Some people approach trust, I trust all the time. Some people approach trust, I trust none of the time. And there's no right, wrong, good, bad, should. We don't want to criticize anybody and how they look at it. We all fall at different spots where we are and how we want to show up based on trust. Howard Stern trusts that he's going to let this info out. And maybe it's too much. Okay. At the end of the day, everybody could give him feedback on that. And I talk about that in the compass. There's one of the areas is feedback, giving it in a healthy, honoring, and respectful manner. My team does a great job with that with me. They told me a couple of weeks ago, Mike, you're not listening. Mike, you're not listening. Okay. And I wasn't listening. So it was really good that they were able to do it in a nice way to me and tell me. And every team should be able to do that. The issue there is, do we have an open enough, trusting environment where we can increase the open self? If you look at the part that's right under that, no matter how much I trust you, I may hide some things from you. We know for a fact that's info that's known to self and not known to others because I'm not sharing it. No one's sharing it. We want to reduce the hidden self. We know effective teams, we've been developing teams with team leadership journey that actually Lisa's group went through, because we have open enrollment and we have team leadership journey. But if we reduce the hidden component, we know effective leadership is taking place, because we want to reduce the amount of things that we're hiding. We had one group that we were working with said, well, I was hiding all those mistakes because I was afraid of what management would say. Okay, well, that's the worst situation that you could, very terrible, but there's others. Okay. And the issue is, how do we get that trusting environment? Because trust is the foundation of any team. I highly recommend Patrick Lencioni's 5 Behaviors of a Cohesive Team, or 5 Behaviors of a Dysfunctional Team. I highly recommend that book. If you have not read it, I would pick it up. It's fabulous because it starts with trust and it ends up becoming results. There's 5 areas that ultimately end in results, and I highly recommend everybody read that and become good at it. Then there's the blind self. It was kind of like that feedback that I got. It kind of punches you hard a little bit. You don't know where it's coming from. We probably all got it at one point or another, where someone gave us feedback that we did not want to hear. But when we got it, it was good information. It's the feedback that I got, that Mike, you're visionary, motivating, inspired, but you're wishy-washy. You don't hold people accountable. And while it punches hard, it doesn't feel good. And it kind of can sting. You kind of can go into a denial on it. I was out with the head of HR, and he told me about it. And I said, well, what do I do? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know what to do. So I was still in denial about it. But so I did a 360 about a year later after I had started to work on it, and got it pretty much better. And it was in there that Mike has done tremendous improvement, but he still needs to do it more. And so I said, they just don't get it. He goes, I think you're being a little defensive. I said, no, I'm not. So I bit his head off, the coach. But it all was good to get it. But that's your blind self. The blind self kind of hurts a little bit. And but at the end of the day, like Lisa said, it's just you're overusing a strength. And the issue is, what's your motivation behind overusing that strength? And that's what you peel back in not only journey, but in coaching. Then there's the unknown self. And they say that's where true creativity lies. It's the study of thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions, philosophies, beliefs, and it's the peeling of all that back. And they say that's where, true genius of each of us lies. And true, now with AI coming faster than lightning, I think we're going to really get a chance to explore the unknown area quite a bit. So it'll be fascinating. So we talked about authentic leadership because Howard, but how can that help us in our careers? I have found, working with people for a long, long time, like Howard, when you're linked to your vision, mission, goals, and your magic dust, you have true joy in your career. And the goal of the book was to get everybody to start to do that, start to link. your vision, mission, goals with your magic dust, and certainly start to identify it and start to live it. Um, it's so important because if we're living outside of our magic dust, it's excruciatingly hard. I know probably all of you have seen people that are put into different positions, and they just took it either for whatever. Maybe they took it because of the money, maybe they took it because it's a prestigious or it's power. But at the end of the day, it's not what they love to do. And if it's not what you love to do, you're going to do it, but you're not going to be as passionate, and you're not going to eat, sleep, and drink it and get enough joy from it. And those messages are easily read by other people. You guys all see it. We're all in tech. We know, you know, where how we ended up where we ended up, and we also observe because we're the recipients of every problem that ever happens in a company. The issue is we get a chance to go out there and build relationships with multiple departments, so we get to see who is linked properly, who isn't, and we have to give them feedback in a healthy, honoring, and respectful manner. The issue is, how receptive are they? How much training have they had to even want to understand what's going on with them? So that's where continual learning goes in the compass, and see if I can go back to that. This compass, because you get your vision, mission, goals, and measures in place, you set your communication plan in motion from there. Well, what does an effective leader need to do if you're in a role that you have to hire people? You have to have a hiring process that links to your vision, mission, goal. I'm so proud that Lisa mentioned, here's what we interview for, because that's showing that they're looking for, does the person know what they're great at? Do they know what happens when they overuse it? It's just awesome. The other thing is training and development. Does your training and development link to your vision, mission, goals? Do your operational processes link to your vision? Every one of you here are tech experts, right? And you see it when the process doesn't link to the vision, mission, goals. Oh my gosh, who sees it first? Us. Okay. Because every problem gets called to the help desk or a support desk. I upgrade my language. So communication around all these processes, communication and alignment around the behaviors and the process we're going to use is so crucial, but it links to the document, the vision, mission, goals, measures, equal behavior, and values. Because your values, if you say, I believe in development, I believe in training, I believe in these things, but you don't align finances to it, and you don't align a behavior to it, and you don't align time off for it, you're saying one thing and doing another thing, which is an integrity issue. And it's the first way to show integrity issues is where your behavior doesn't link to what you're saying you want. So that's where clarity and alignment and a lot of conversations come from. And then that's where accountability comes in. And I was at a client about 2 weeks ago. We did a session, and we had several new partners there. And one of the things that they had mentioned was accountability was their weakest link. And if you look at Patrick Lencioni's pyramid, and if you look at the second to the results is accountability. And she made a statement. She was the head of HR. She said, she made it in front of all these partners. What happens when accountability goes is the rest of the pyramid falls down. And it's such truth. And I didn't realize that. That's my weakest area as well. And that is such a crucial thing. So accountability is such an important skill to learn how to do it in the right way. And conflict, I have a term, without conflict, there is no leadership. I guarantee you document a vision, mission, goals, measures, and equal values and behaviors document, you will have conflict. The issue is it healthy, honoring, and respectful? And do we give and receive feedback in a healthy, honoring way with it? Because if you don't have conflict, you're not pushing the needle enough. You're not empowering people to go where they've never gone before. So that creates conflicts, that creates influence. Because if you're having conflict, there's a lot of influencing going on. And how you have those relationships, sometimes they don't end as well as you'd like them to. The issue is how do you preserve the relationship skills? If you have all these other things in place and people are aligning their career to their vision, mission, goals, and their magic dust, open conversations are happening. The issue is, are you having them soon enough? I had a situation even in people tech where it started with my magic dust linking to my vision mission goals. I wasn't bringing it up soon enough. That was hurting everybody there. And then I had other people doing a role that didn't link properly, and that was having an impact. So then you suddenly start talking about it. Oh my God, it makes sense. But why weren't we talking about it sooner? Because the sooner the better.
Mike, I'm
Back.
going to interrupt just for a second because we're time is going quickly on us.
Okay.
And John had a question that I think other people are also really going to have because you and I are talking so much about magic dust.
Okay.
Can you kind of pivot for us? Sorry. And
Yes.
give us okay. So now I have heard this term magic dust, which also is an adorable story about Mike's uncle that we don't have time for today, but that's where the words magic dust came from. Another great story. So today, for John and others who are interested, what can they do to start determining their magic dust? I'd love to shift
Great
that
question.
there.
Great question. The first thing is start to make a list of traits that you have. Take instruments if you don't know what they are. Like, have you taken the disc? Have you taken Myers-Briggs? Have you taken the Genius? Have you taken Enneagram? Have you taken, there's a positive intelligence now. Some of those are free. They're out there free. Take them, start to write down traits that it says that you have if you can't identify it. You could start on your own, start listing. Here's how I show up. Here's how people would describe me, like Lisa said. Here's 3 words that describe me. Ask some other people to describe you. Ask others because they have great ways of giving you feedback on who you are.
Mike, that's a great point because one of the tools that we used was the 360, where there's a whole thing where you go out to people and you have, and they had us pick a cross selection of people. So not just my employees, but family and outside of work community. And that gave us a great view. But a mini way to do that would be just to reach out to 4 people and say, can you use 3 words or phrases to describe me? And I don't want you to be nice. I want you to just,
Tell me what you think I do well. Tell me what you think I don't do as well. They'll tell you. And then
oh,
you'll
yeah, they will.
start making a list of these things. You'll notice a pattern. That pattern is where you distill your magic dust from. Lisa's a very results-oriented person, and also she is very high energy. Like you said, people want to follow her. She's enthusiastic, she has high energy, and she's results-oriented. But if you overuse that great skill, it can be kind of rough. Okay.
Do you remember the book that the coach recommended to me?
Oh, you told me. What was it again?
Lead like Jesus.
Oh, yeah. I hear you. So, in all fairness, she recommends that to a lot of people.
Okay, good.
That's hilarious. But it's all good. So that's what I would do. I would start to determine traits about yourself, and start to make a list, and you'll notice a pattern that emerges. You know, enthusiasm, high energy,
Tenacity.
yeah, tenacity. You'll start noticing these patterns that exist. Obviously, we run Journey. I'm not here to sell anything, but we run journeys. It's another way. There's so many programs out there. Take a lot of those programs. Any of them you take is going to give you info on things. Okay, so that's a very important aspect to start. Read books. There are a ton of great books out there. Like I said, Lencioni's book, 5 Dysfunctions, but that's more how to run an effective team, and it's fabulous. But there's others in terms of learning about yourself, about your shadow self. What's my shadow? Why does that come out? Well, your shadow is just, my shadow was I didn't hold people accountable. Okay, it was my other side. I needed to get into that because that's going to free me up. Understanding that magic dust actually frees you up from trying to be everything to everyone. And what I love about using Howard is Howard doesn't try to be everything to everyone. He just wants to be Howard. Okay. When he overuses it, and he'll tell you this, he did it in his career. he doesn't use this language, but when he overuses his gift, which is interviewing, and one of the things is comedy and sarcasm. He started to have this sarcastic thing. He upset Robin Williams so much so that Robin would never talk to him again. Howard was trying to get to him to apologize, and unfortunately, Robin Williams passed away. And so that hurts Howard to the core. The issue is, how do again, he was overusing a skill that he had, and in the way he was interviewing. Now he claims, I get the same results and I don't have to be that piercing.
Mhm.
And it's so true. He gets the same thing out and he's let go of this need that he has to find out and dig in and insult you. So it's very,
Well, I mean, he is the king of all media. So,
yes, that's true. That is true. That is true. That is true. Self-proclaimed. but
that is
that's
true.
another thing good. He thinks of himself in a positive way. And a lot of times we beat ourselves up left and right. We're not good enough. Why would anybody want us? This and that. We got to kind of process all that, because that ties into our vision, mission, goals, and measures, and the behaviors we're going to use to live it. So the big thing is to inspire yourself, to empower yourself to go where you've never gone before. You inspire yourself and others. All of you have impact on other people, and they're all watching what you're doing, and they're also watching what you're not doing. So I say start with your magic dust, but also start at the same time with your vision, your mission, and your goals, because you're living it anyway. There is a book that you can get for vision, mission, goals part called The One Page Business Plan. It's by a guy named Jim Horan, Horan, and it gives like templates. There's different ones for entrepreneurs, ones for finance. You take those templates and you could start to fill out on your own your vision, mission, goals document.